or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello, W4CY listeners. Are you ready to learn the spiritual laws to success and wealth? Well, pack your virtual bags because it's 1 p.m. Eastern and it's time for the Traveling Investor Radio Show, sponsored by Cornerstone Investment Partners and RE/MAX Commercial Realty Partners. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to get wealthy. And now, here's your host and travel guide, the real estate guru, Nitsan Mosery.
Hey, travelers. Welcome back for another great show of The Traveling Investor. How are you? Do me a favor. I would love to hear where you guys are listening in from, where you are around the world. So shoot me a message here on YouTube, on Talk4 TV, or you can go on W4CY.com and just type in a little comment letting me know where you're from. I would love to hear where everybody's traveling and where you're going and where you're coming from. It's been a great week. You know, we're working on a 128-unit property, and it's just fantastic. I love the way the process and the system works. It's wonderful when you've got a team. When you've got a team of experts that you're working with, when you've got a team of people that are moving towards a common goal, when you've got people working together, it just amazing things happen. And I got to tell you, it's wonderful what goes on when that happens. The synergy, the whole nine. It's been a wonderful week. So let's see. So what's been going on this week since the last time we spoke? We are working on a couple of properties in Texas that we had a contract on to sell, but of course the buyer backed out, but that's no problem. That's not an issue. There are more buyers everywhere, every single day. What else? We've got, what else happened this weekend? Oh, so we were at some friends having a birthday party, and we were talking about brand recognition. We were talking about how it's super important for you to create a brand, right? To create something that people recognize without you having to say a word, right? When we look at Nike, when we look at the Google, when we look at Apple, when we look at, all these huge companies that have created a brand. So now all you have to do is put the brand here. I'm looking on my computer screen right now, and it shows, the Apple, right? With the Apple bite in it. All these things, all these tiny little things that create brand recognition. Of course, you've got to have a great track record. You've got to have a great product. You've got to have a vision. You got to have all these things to create an incredible company, an incredible brand. Then you got to build a culture around it, right? A lot of, look at the NFL, look at the NBA, look at all these sports teams, right? They create brands. It's all about branding. It's about putting a symbol out there and having that symbol stand for something. So we talked about how to create a brand. What are the steps that you got to do? People that you need to help you create that. And it's just like anything else. You got to have a great team in place. We're also this week, we were talking about that. We were talking about the branding. You got to have somebody who's great at design, graphic design, marketing, and you got to get this team together so that you can build a marketing plan to start building that brand of yours, right? You need to have your name out there. If people don't know who you are and what you're doing and where they can reach you, you really, you're not doing it, right? You got to go out. You got to sell your product. You got to sell your brand. I was talking about the NFL. the NFL has a great brand, right? They created it, right? I don't know, a lot of you, I'm going to date myself right now. Before there was the NFL, right? There were two leagues, right? It was the AFL and I think the NFL, and they converged into one, into the NFL. But now what they did was they took that and they created such a label for themselves, such a name that they go out now, and it's a global brand, the NFL. You can go anywhere in the world and you can see people wearing NFL jerseys. You can see people wearing specific team jerseys, right? This is how strong branding is, right? We see people walking around with Chanel bags, with, Polo t-shirts, right? This is all branding. So when you're out there building your business and building your team, it's all about branding. So we got a question here. What was brands known as before branding? Well, you know what? It's funny that you should ask. That's great. And how do you build your brand? That's awesome questions. What was branding before? So it's funny you mention that, because just the other night I was watching, this movie from the Renaissance period with knights and kings and, all these different kingdoms and whatnot. And they had branding back then as well. But it wasn't called branding. It was called your family logo or your family name, right? One king would have his logo, and he would put it on all his knights' armor, on their shields. They would have the banners on the castles, and when they would go in and march into battle, they would have the horsemen and the infantry and all these guys riding along, carrying their flags. This was branding. So they went out, they conquered another castle. They took down those flags and those emblems and the symbols, and then they put their flags and emblems and symbols on. That was rebranding, right? So it's been around for generations and generations and generations, right? This is how one tribe separated themselves from another tribe, right? Was also branding, right? You have tribes all over the world. In South America, the Amazon tribes. In Africa, the Amazon tribes. The 12 tribes of Israel. All these different tribes had their emblems to differentiate themselves from everyone else. And when you looked at that symbol, you knew what that was for, or what that meant, right? When you looked at a certain when you were back in the Renaissance period and you were going from one city to another, and you would have these flags coming into the city, you knew who was ruling. It was a brand, right? Same thing now, right? So yes, it was all there. It was all there a long, long time ago. How do you build a brand? That's a great question. That's what we talked about as well in my mastermind group coming up in November 2nd in Boca Raton. And if you want, you can check online how to find us. So you can go to my Instagram page or Facebook, and you can check us out there on the mastermind. But in the mastermind group, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss that as well. First you have to design the name, right? The name is so important, super important. The name, the design, the logo, and then you have to create a marketing plan and put a budget to it so that you can go out and build your brand, right? But then also you have to go out and do what you say you're going to do. Right? You can't just build a brand and say you're going to do something and not do it, right? It's transparency. It's keeping your word, right? Do all people need a brand? Well, you know what? Do we need a brand? It all depends on what you're doing. If you're in business, I highly recommend getting a brand, even if you are just one person in an office. If you're, a bookkeeper, for example, and you work for yourself, you're your own boss, you're one person, you have several clients, you should have a brand. Your brand should be someone that gets there on time, that says what they're going to do, that does what they say they do, comes in a little bit below what your price point was. So basically you want to underdeliver, you want to overpromise and underdeliver. So yeah, I think everybody should have a brand, because even if we're not in business for ourselves and we are going out and we are looking for a job, or we're looking for a partner, or whatever it is, we're branding ourselves. So what is your brand? Are you someone that comes to an interview in rundown sweatpants and you've got food on your face and you got stains on your shirt? That's you branding yourself as that type of person? Or are you going to come prepared to that interview? You brand yourself on that as well. So it all depends on what you want. Are you talking about family crest? Well, yes, family crest. Family crest was that family logo, which was the family branding. And when people talked about that, they knew who they were talking about, right? How does this differ from when they brand cows on other livestock? Okay, that is me. Okay, now we're going a little bit away, but you know what? It's kind of the same because the farmer is taking his logo, his number, his brand, and now he's sticking it on another cow. That's like the kings back in the Renaissance period taking a flag and putting it on another castle that they just conquered, right? But this on a cow, I think is a little, in my opinion, is a little harsh. It's not something that I would like to do. But yeah, branding cows is taking your family logo, your company brand, and just sticking it onto an animal. When you have a company that's not in the farming industry, when you're in corporate America or whatnot, your branding would be on your business card, on your website, on your logo, and stuff like that. So, talking about branding, talking about the NFL, what I'd like to do is we're going to go quickly and listen to some of our sponsors. But when we come back, I want to introduce a gentleman. His name is Yannick Cudjoe-Virgil. He was in the NFL. He played on the NFL. He played for the Tennessee Titans. And now he's going into commercial real estate. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about branding. We're going to talk about what it's like to hear people cheer you on a field and be at the top of your game. And then suddenly, as Mike Tyson likes to say, suddenly get punched in the face. And now you've got to revamp your entire life. How do you start over? What's the mindset? So we're going to talk about that. All right, we're going to talk about that when we come back. So stay tuned. We're going to listen to our sponsors. And when we come back, Yannick Cudjoe-Virgil is going to be on, and we're going to talk about mindset, branding, NFL, and commercial real estate. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Traveling Investor on W4CY Radio. Please take a moment to listen to the sponsors who have a secret message just for you. Don't leave. The best is yet to come. The Traveling Investor will be right back.
I want to be rich. Oh, I want to be rich.
Behind everything you're searching for is something you're actually looking for. When you search with the Real Yellow Pages, you get more than a contractor. You get a whole new curb appeal. It's not just getting directions to a dry cleaner with YP.com. It's rescuing an old favorite from the back of the closet. And it's more than finding a locksmith with YP.com on your mobile. It's getting to sleep in your own bed. Whatever it might be, there are more ways to search and more ways to find exactly what you're looking for with the Real Yellow Pages, YP.com, and YP.com on your mobile, only from AT&T.
This is Rebel Medler. Join me for In Your Face on W4CY.com, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're not gonna take it. No, we ain't gonna take it.
Fiesta Pet Deli, South Florida's original and only fresh food deli for pets. We carry a full line of products like Bravo, Nature's Variety, and BioComplete. We have FDA-approved meals that are prepared daily. Stop by our brand new store located at Sample Road and the Turnpike in the Festival Flea Market in Pompano, Florida, or call 954-971-2500. Check us out online at www.realfoodforpets.com. If your pet's overweight, suffers from skin problems, or you suspect food allergies, we have the solution. We also carry a large variety of pet strollers, bedding, apparel, collars, leashes, natural chews, and grooming supplies. Veterinarian owned and operated, Fiesta Pet Deli's mission is to help every pet owner have the healthiest pet they possibly can. Call us today for local deliveries or shipping throughout the United States. Call Fiesta Pet Deli today at 954-971-2500. That's 954-971-2500.
You are now tuned into W4CY Radio, entertainment at your fingertips.
I want to be rich. Oh, I want to be rich.
A Attention listeners, we are preparing once again for takeoff, so please return your seats as W4CY Radio welcomes back your real estate guru, the traveling investor, Nitsan Mosery.
Hey, travelers, welcome back. Nitsan Mosery. Welcome to W4CY.com, the best internet radio station on the planet. I am your host, Nitsan Mosery. I am the traveling investor. And we are lucky today, folks. We are super, super lucky. We have a gentleman who many of us dreamed to do it. He did. He was on a field with thousands and thousands of people cheering his name. He's an former NFL football player for the Tennessee Titans, Yannick Cudjoe-Virgil. Hey, Yannick, what's happening, my friend?
Hey, it's on. How's it going? Good evening.
It's going great.
The introduction. How's everything going today?
Fantastic, fantastic. You know, I only mentioned your NFL history, but I got to tell people on the show, you know, Yannick, you know, he's an asset manager. He's with Mankiti Group, and he's an active real estate investor. He oversees right now management and performance of commercial real estate portfolio of 45 plus properties valued over, check this out, $60 million. You know, you also invest in the Washington, D.C. metro area. You began shifting in multifamily this year, which we're going to talk about. And that, I think it's a great thing that you're doing. Prior to your real estate career, you know, we mentioned you played NFL for the Tennessee Titans. You retired in 2017. You hold a master's in commercial property with the Mike Lipsey School of Commercial Real Estate, and you're a certified commercial investment member. Candidate. Yannick, you hold a degree in kinesiology. We're going to talk about that as well from the University of Maryland College Park. So you have a full belt, right? You got your belt, you know, like the bat belt, right? You know, your tool belt, right? You've got it all, man. So you know, let's start with the one question that everybody's asking, right? What's it like being in the NFL? How did you get there, first of all?
Man, I mean, well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I definitely appreciate it. You know, playing in the NFL, it was a dream of mine since I was a little kid, you know, Pee Wee football. And, you know, for me to make it to the NFL, it was my number one goal. And, you know, as the listeners probably know, less than 1% of athletes that play in high school sports even make it to the NFL. So it's extremely a blessing for me to get there. But you know, I wasn't able to get there easy. I would say the mindset really allowed me to get there. You know, it's a lot of people competing against one main goal, right? Everyone that wants to play in the NFL, they all compete to get there, and you know, it's such a hard task to obtain. And you know, each day in and out, you know, I just worked extremely hard on my craft, and you know, fortunately, I was blessed enough to get there. So it was an amazing experience to be around guys that I looked up, like Brian Orakpo. I looked up to him, even when I was in high school. Derek Morgan, even Marcus Mariota. You know, he and I came in together, and you know, we were good friends. So you know, it was definitely a blessing and a tremendous experience that I would always cherish with me for the rest of my life.
So that's awesome, man. That's fantastic. You know, like I said, you do what so many of us wish that we could do, and I want to talk about that because you started a little bit. You hinted about that. What is different in your eyes, in your opinion? What is different between the guys who make it and the guys who don't make it?
And that's an interesting question because I get asked that all the time, and I think it comes down to one thing, is that. And one of the motivational speakers, Eric Thomas, always talks about this, is that you have to want it as bad as you want to breathe. And the reason for that is because if you understand that less than 1% makes it, it's for a reason. And that less than 1% has that specific mindset to say, well, I'm going to dedicate 100% of my energy to my craft each and every day. And I'm not going to stop until I achieve greatness. And then that's the only way that you'll be able to get to the NFL. You can certainly get to there on talent, but you know, talent could only get you so far in this business.
That's amazing that you say that, right? That talent can only get you so far, and that, I guess, mindset is that other piece that takes you, right? You got to have that right
Absolutely.
mindset. You got to have that mindset that, no matter what happens to me, I'm getting up and I'm going at it. I'm still moving forward, right? I could get knocked down, I could get stepped on, I could get my ass kicked, I can get my ass handed to me by other people. It doesn't
Yeah.
make a difference, right? I'll
Mhm.
reattach it. I'll straighten myself up,
Yep.
scratch myself off, and then move on. And I
Mhm.
think that is the mindset that we have to carry throughout life, right?
Mhm.
Know,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
You go on. It's it doesn't matter what field you're on, right? You can be
Mhm.
on the football playing field, you can be on the real estate playing field, you can be on the family playing field. Whatever field you're on, right? You got to have that
Yeah.
mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's sports is really a great reflection of life in general. You go through ups and downs. You have your injuries, you have your successes, you have your stops on third down, you have your touchdowns. But it really allowed me to create a framework for my life and develop great character that I'm able to take with me for the rest of my life, and also apply some of those values and that work ethic in business as well. And I always have a saying. It's everyone goes through adversity, but you get knocked down 8 times, you get up 9. So that's kind of the mindset that I've always had, and I'm extremely passionate about overcoming adversity.
Right. Yeah. Listen. You're playing in the NFL, right? And when we met in Dallas, I mean, you're a big guy, right? I mean, compared to me, you're a giant, right? I'm not the biggest guy, but you're not the biggest guy in the NFL either,
Yeah.
right? So you're sitting there, you're staring up at these like monsters that I would
Yeah.
consider like, oh my God, right? They're coming at me full charge. How do you keep focus?
Yeah.
Right? That's the huge thing, right? We always say, when we see a game on TV, right, and you see that long
Mhm.
pass, right, and the receiver's catching it, or someone's about to catch it and they're running,
Yeah.
and they drop it because they hear the steps, they hear the
Mhm.
other player coming, and that's what they focus on.
Yeah.
They don't focus on catching the ball;
Yeah.
they focus on the other guy, and they drop the ball, right, and then they
Yeah.
get hit no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, man, it's all about mental toughness. You got to be mentally tough to endure those footsteps. You got to be willing to take, the L for the team. Essentially, when I came in at 22 years old, and I was going up against. I played defensive end / outside linebacker, right? So I was the pass rusher.
Mhm.
And I'm going up against 35, 36-year-old grown men with 5 kids that have to make the team, or else they're going to have to answer to their kids and wife, right? So you can only imagine a guy coming in from college, single, no kids, excited, going up against a guy who's a 10-year vet saying, man, I have 5 kids and I'm not going home, right?
Right.
So you could only imagine the intensity and kind of the energy that was always in the locker room, especially in training camp and, just on the field in general, to even make the team. So it was a tremendous experience, and it's tough to stay focused, but you kind of fall back on your values and why you play the game to help you push through those tough times.
Oh man, you keep hitting on the points I want to talk about. So you talk about the why, right? You talk about why are you playing this game? Why are you there? That's your why is your driving force, right? Mike Tyson has a great saying. He goes, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
No. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So when you get
Great
punched in the
quote.
face by Mike Tyson, and when you get run over by you on the field, right, and your face is in the dirt, you
Yeah.
gotta ask yourself, what the hell am I doing here, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be an
Yeah.
easier way to make a buck.
Yeah, absolutely. It's some of those. It's part of the game, right? You may come in with a game plan, and first drive they score on you, and like you look at the coach and say, well, that's out of the bucket. You know what I mean? And you just keep fighting. You gotta have to be a warrior in that ring, especially in a competitive professional sports atmosphere. It's a different mindset. So
Absolutely. So you were at the height. You were there. You had people cheering your name, and your fans and whatnot. And what happened that you had to retire in 2017?
yeah, so I was struggling with the knee injury my rookie year, even from training camp. And the warrior inside of me, I have a serious hard time giving myself rest. And I always like to push through things. That's just my mindset. I'm pretty. I have a lot of mental toughness as a person. But essentially, what happened was, I sustained a knee injury. I would say about around week 13, week 14-ish in my rookie year. And, unfortunately, tore my patella tendon, had the surgery, I think a couple of days later. About a couple months after that, decided, the surgery wasn't the best surgery. So I had to get it redone. Essentially, was pushed a little bit too hard in rehab. Part of that was myself as well, retore it, and sustained an infection after the third surgery about 3 to 4 months later. And, that was pretty much the knockout. I was told that I wasn't able to play football again, but that certainly didn't stop me from letting myself determine my own destiny. So, it comes a time after, going through the rehab process and bouncing back and trying to, get that pep back in your step, right? As athletes, you have to have that confidence, that swagger in the field. And I just, came to realization mechanically and strength-wise that my knee wasn't the same anymore. So, I had to make that transition, which wasn't the toughest, as a lot of professional athletes, eventually everyone has to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And, I decided to take that step into real estate. So that's pretty much how I got, into real estate from football.
Right. So that's it kind of shows, just like you said, you got to have that mental toughness, right? You don't know what's going to happen, right? So here you are, you're in the NFL, you're projecting a long career, you're in it, right? And then out of left field, right, comes this injury that knocks you out. What was it that picked you up and helped you shake that off and now redirect your life? Can you pinpoint, that one time, right? What was the breakthrough for you that you were like, all right, you know what? Let's do this. I've got everything else in my life. Let's go forward.
Yeah. I would say that period before, I would say the actual commitment transition between when I was told that I wasn't going to play again, wasn't able to play again, battling back from rehab, just the emotional setbacks and things I had to endure. I would say it came from what helped me transition was just the support of my family, and particularly my mom. It was tough. I had a couple workouts and, they all said I looked great, but it just looked like I missed a step. Right. So after you hear that over and over again, you gotta, have to come to realization that, it's time to make a change. So I would say the breakthrough came from, just a conversation with my mom. She's a big supporter of mine. She's my biggest fan. Just having that conversation and then just coming to realization that, hey man, it was a long run. It's going to hurt, but at the end of the day, you have to pick yourself up and just keep moving forward. So I had to overcome that mentally. And, I think the breakthrough was just a conversation with my mom about late 2017. That was the step that I had to take forward.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. So you had your high point, you had that pit moment when you knew that was it, done, and the support of your family, of your mom, right? You've got that one person, right? You got to have that one person in your life that you can go to and you can talk and you can share. So that's beautiful. That's a beautiful story. What I like to do now is take a quick break, listen to some of our sponsors, and when we come back, I want us to talk about your transition from the NFL into commercial real estate and why you chose multifamily and how you got to manage a portfolio of over $60 million. So travelers, stay tuned. We're going to listen to our sponsors and we will be right back.
You're listening to The Traveling Investor on W4CY Radio. Please take a moment to listen to the sponsors who have a secret message just for you. Don't leave. The best is yet to come. The Traveling Investor will be right back.
I wanna be rich. Oh, I wanna be rich.
Hey everyone, I'm Jimmy Star, the king of cool and your host of the Jimmy Star Show, the entertainment radio show for all you cool and unique people looking to get a behind-the-scenes peek at what's going on in the entertainment industry. Listen in as me and my cool crowd of co-hosts bring you celebrity guests, new music, and the good times in fashion, entertainment, and pop culture. Right, everybody? Right! Tune in live Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on W4CY.com.
You wanted the best, you got the best. Your favorite internet radio station in the land, W4CY Radio. We have all the entertainment you desire, from talk to music to comedy, right here on W4CY.com. Listen to W4CY Radio 24/7 for giveaways, exciting contests, and fun. Informational, motivational, entertaining, interactive. It's W4CY.com.
Saturday night.
You know exactly how much sun and water every flower needs in order to bloom. You know when someone's in love based on the bouquet purchased. You know flowers. We can help you find more people to buy them. And by working together, we can get your small business growing. At AT&T Advertising Solutions, we have more ways to reach more people. With print, online, mobile, and direct marketing, AT&T Advertising Solutions has local advertising experts to help your small business find more customers. Call 1-800-GET-REAL to learn more. AT&T, rethink possible.
Won't you fly free, bird, yeah.
Hey, I'm Johnny.
I'm Gary. And I'm Ricky. And you're listening to W4CY because it's the best of radio. And this is Leonard Skinner.
There you go.
Skinner!
I wanna be rich. Oh, I wanna be rich.
Attention listeners, we are preparing once again for takeoff, so please return your seats as W4CY Radio welcomes back your real estate guru, the Traveling Investor, Nitsan Mosery.
Hey travelers, welcome back. Nitsan Mosery, the Traveling Investor on W4CY Radio, the best internet on the planet, and I am your host, Nitsan Mosery, the Traveling Investor. Just a couple of little things I want to share again. November 2nd, Boca Raton, Florida. We are having our mastermind group. The early bird pricing is $97. We're going to have people from different backgrounds, different careers, different experiences, different knowledge, all working on our obstacles and challenges and mindset for an entire day. And here's my guarantee to you: if you don't leave with one idea that can help you take your business to the next level, I will refund your money. $97, it's not that much. I think every one of you can afford it, to be able to sit down and talk with people that are leaders in their communities, wealthy business owners, entrepreneurs, people that have taken their businesses from zero and have skyrocketed, people that are successful in the health industry, mindset industry, whatever it is, we've got it. November 2nd, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be in Boca. And then from there, we can go to the beach. We can have some dinner. It's going to be amazing. Sign up. You can go to Eventbrite and check it out. You can go on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can find me there. So back to Yannick, man. So we were talking before the commercial. We were talking about the high of the NFL, being on the field, getting hit in the face, you know, metaphorically, of course, right, with the knee injury, throwing your career, you know, sideways, and then the realization, the breakthrough with your mom that it's time to move on. So now after you realize that it was time to move on, why real estate and why multifamily? Right? You could have chosen anything, right? You Well, you got a degree in kinesiology, right? Kinesiology is a science that listens to the body, right? That puts the body back in balance and all that kind of stuff, right? It's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So you could have done that. You could have done so many other things, right? With yourself. Why multifamily? Why real estate? Please.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I can remember, when my knee was in a sling, that I read a book, and it was a really pivotal book for me from a mindset position because in my first off season in the NFL, I spent $20,000 in 1 month, and I didn't understand or know exactly where that money went to. And
Wow.
I can remember reading, I don't know how, maybe it came from Bigger Pockets, but somehow I ordered Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right?
Uh-huh.
And that book transformed my mindset to a whole different level. I was already a frugal spender. I wasn't a huge spender. But after reading that book, it really transformed my life. And I would
Do you remember
attribute
what?
that.
Do you remember what it was about the book that transformed you?
Yeah. So the biggest thing about the book that I remember that transformed me, there were a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing that I remember from that book was just about it's about how much you keep, not how much you earn.
That's right.
Right. That was the biggest thing, is that I came from being a broke college student to making, a good amount of money in the NFL. A lot of people that leave the NFL in the first 2 to 3 years go broke. I didn't have a huge financial literacy background, from my family. But, after reading that, it made sense from me spending $20,000 in 1 month and not knowing exactly where it went. So just that right there changed my mindset. It's about what you keep, not what you earn.
Absolutely.
It really allowed me to shift from spending to saving, but saving to invest based on the book. And from my other publications that I've read, everyone probably heard this before. 90% of millionaires in this country own real estate. So I just knew that I wanted to earn a bunch of money, and I had some capital, and I said, well, let me let me learn more about real estate and invest in real estate. So I would say that was the pinnacle to me diving into real estate. I also met a real estate developer in Nashville. His name is David Creed, and he does office development, and he toured me on a couple of his projects. And, it just made sense from a business perspective, right? Let's say, for example, the NOI, right? I know if I increase the NOI on a property, it's going to increase the value of the property compared to single family. If it's, X, if my property is worth 100,000, next door is probably going to worth 100,000 too. It doesn't matter about how much the tenant is paying in rent. It just made sense from a business perspective. So,
Sure.
He also propelled me into the commercial real estate space. And from there, I was really able to, amass a ton of knowledge to propel me to my next stage of my career, which was, starting in commercial real estate brokerage.
So would you say that having a coach or a mentor is crucial? Just like when you were in the NFL, you had, talk about NFL, right? How many coaches you got? You got offensive, you got defensive, you got, special teams, kickoff, all these different coaches, right? So how important is it, do you think, to have a coach when you're going into something like commercial real estate?
It's super important. Commercial real estate is not like residential in that it's so many factors that come into building your team to execute. It's so many market factors, macroeconomics, microeconomics. It's so many different aspects to commercial real estate that can really impact your investment. So, just diving into that knowledge really allowed me to really propel myself into the career I'm at, at this point.
Right. So how did you go into get involved with as an asset manager with the Mankiti? So take us through like your process, right? So you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, changed your life. You started having a different perspective on things. And then what did you do? What were the other steps that you took before you started working and becoming an asset manager and so forth?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to go full steam into real estate. I had capital left from the NFL, so I began investing, doing some single family fix and flips, right? And that's pretty much what a lot of people start doing when they get into real estate, right? They see HDTV, that's sexy, let me do some flips and amass large amounts of capital, and then kind of build from there, which isn't as pretty as it is on TV. That HDTV is probably misleading. So I started doing some flips, and also I got my real estate license. Was under my one of my mentors in the local DC market, and jumped into brokerage. So I started doing brokerage with a multifamily group in the DC metro area. I know I always wanted to do commercial real estate. The one thing that attracted me to multifamily specifically was that number one thing, right, or one of three things that people need in everyday life, right? They need a place to live. They need maybe food to eat and shelter, right? Food, water, and shelter. Right. So that there just brought me to the housing space, right? And then also from my commercial real estate knowledge or that I gained from my mentor, he also introduced me to this thing called multifamily. And the reason I liked multifamily was that it's something synonymous or something easier to get into rather than retail, development, etc. But the reason I got into multifamily was I was able to take a look at some trends, and I took a look at how other asset classes performed from the recession, right? And we can say that multifamily had the best risk-adjusted returns from the recession to where we are now, right? In addition to even from the recession, there was a relatively very small amount of delinquency rates that were associated with multifamily across other asset classes, right? So that pretty much started a train in my head to say, well, I want to learn about multifamily. I want to do multifamily. Why don't I just start in brokerage, right? So I started in brokerage, started doing some multifamily stuff with a group. And, my heart really rested in the investment side because I wanted to do more. I wanted to be on the other side. I wanted to work in the operations, acquisitions, management. And I was fortunate enough to meet a local real estate developer in the DC market. His name is Bo Mankiti. And he and I connected, started talking. I expressed my goals, where I currently was at in the brokerage space. He also invests with NFL players in development deals and other properties that we have. And it was a great fit, so I got offered to join his team and specifically work in the asset management department. So I currently work with another individual in our firm, and we oversee the acquisitions and asset management portion and portfolio performance of his entire portfolio, ranging from multifamily, mixed use, office, industrial, also some development deals. So that was a great opportunity to transition from the brokerage side to the asset management and operations and investing side, because now I was able to really get a hands-on approach to, investing or asset management in general, which I would be able to take into the multifamily space. So that's pretty much how I got from, leaving the NFL, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, to meeting my mentor, to doing some more research and finding multifamily and investing and brokerage, to where I'm at now in asset management.
That's great. So you actually, so you went through the, kind of the whole process, right? You saw it from the broker's perspective. Now you're seeing it from the asset manager's perspective. And now you want to go and do it from the owner's perspective. And I think that's a great way of going about it because you're going to need to be an asset manager. So you're going to need to know how to manage your property managers and how to get them to achieve to achieve the goals of your properties, of whoever's property you're managing, your asset managing. So then also on the brokerage side, when you're talking to brokers and you're building relationships with brokers, you understand where they're coming from and their mentality and what they're looking for, and you can kind of talk their language and put them at ease, right? So it's a great way of going about it. Takes and I commend you for doing that because it takes a long time, right? It's a long process.
Absolutely.
Right. It's not one day, like you said, like you take a course, they give you your license, and now, you're making millions of dollars. Right.
Yeah.
This industry is kind of like where, the NFL, where you came from, where you've got a lot of people on these different teams. And when you're starting out, you're the rookie and you're by yourself. You don't have kind of a team behind you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's you talking to the broker, and the broker's going, "What's the last thing you just closed on?" You go, you hear crickets in the background, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it really, I think you touched a great point. It afforded me the experience and also just the mental training of understanding how a broker thinks. And now I can move into how an investor thinks. Those brokers, they want to make sure that all they care about at the end of the day is just one thing: can you close?
Amen.
Right? It's about, can you close? That's all they care about. No one really cares about what happens during the transaction, bumps and bruises. All they want to make sure is that, can this guy close? Right. So that's one of the values that I try to bring up on every new conversation that I have with a broker. We speak about our team, what we're doing, our background, and how we can add value to closing this transaction.
That's awesome, and that's the way to do it, right? That's exactly it. The brokers are always looking for that one thing: can you close? Right? So, why are you doing this? Why are you taking the time to learn multifamily? Why are you taking the time to learn asset management on the broker side? Why do you want to be an investor? Why do you want to own multifamily? I know it's to make a lot of money and whatnot, but that's the result of being successful, right? You're not successful because you have money. You have money because you become successful. But why is it that you want to go and go into an industry where you're starting off by yourself? And it's like the NFL, but without a team, right? Right? You're a rookie and you're there and you're just looking around going, okay, right? So why? You got 3 minutes.
Yeah. So why, right? So I would say, I'm originally from Trinidad. I came to this country when I was 10 years old, right? We moved to this country. I can remember my mother, she, gave me a phone call. She came up here a couple months prior and she gave me a phone call and said, pack your bags. We're moving to America, right? And as a 10-year-old kid, you don't know what to expect. You're going to a whole different country. You don't know what the living arrangement is going to be. So I just, as any 10-year-old kid, I have to do what my mom says. So we came to this country, and we just came with a bag of clothes, and we were able to grow and just afford ourselves an opportunity to create wealth for our family. And I think it comes down to anything that you do in life. If you're working for money, money will always be there, right? If you're working for like fame, fame would always be there. But it's those tough times when you're being challenged on what you're pushing for. You kind of have to come back to, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And my why, I would say, is creating a legacy for my family. Just being the first generation, I guess, Trinidadian. All my family is back in Trinidad. Just first generation into this country. I want to set the foundation and the platform for my kids and their kids and their kids and so on and so forth. So I'm willing to take that sacrifice now to get there and, basically create an empire for my children and their children. So I would say my biggest why is family, and just, creating that foundation to really build that legacy for my kids and their kids, and so on and so forth.
That's beautiful. Do you have kids now?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
So the future kids, that's awesome.
Correct.
That's a great way of thinking, and I commend you for that, right? It's your why that's going to move you forward. Nothing else will move you forward, right? Because once you've made that $1 million, people that don't have a strong why, they're like, okay, what now? Right? They lose their identity. They lose who they are because they're not doing what they're passionate about. They don't have a cause behind them. They don't have that that why, right? They don't come. Purpose. They're not a 10-year-old boy that mom just said, throw your stuff in the garbage bag and we're, in the bag and we're going, right? So I commend you on that. Unfortunately, time is up.
Yeah.
I would love to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure having you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thanks, Yannick. It's been great, and we will definitely get together and talk some more.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate everything. I had a great time talking on the show. I'm excited to learn more about you. I know we talked briefly after Dallas, the multi-family event, and looking forward to seeing the great things you guys doing at Cornerstone, and I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, travelers, I'm going to leave you with this last saying. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sunshine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields. Until next week, this is Nitzan Mosri, your traveling investor. I'll see you somewhere on Spaceship Earth. Take care.
Wow, what a great show.
Thank you, Yannick.
Are you excited to learn the untold secrets of how to get wealthy? Then tune in next Thursday and every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern right here on W4CY Radio. You too can learn how to become a traveling investor. If you missed any part of this episode or want to hear it again, go to the Traveling Investor Podcast on iHeartRadio. You can listen to all past episodes on demand 24/7. Next week's episode will take us somewhere new and exciting, so don't miss it. Thank you for listening.
I wanna